With the drama that unfolded before the High Priest, Myne, in the end, had convinced the head priest Ferdinand to accept all her terms and conditions for joining the temple. She's excited to start as an apprenticeship priestess. However, due to preparations, there's still time. Unlike her, Luke has already started his merchant apprenticeship and is working hard. Myne tells Benno of all the conditions accepted, and it seems even Benno regards Ferdinand as someone reliable she can go to. Though Myne has landed her beloved apprentice job, she keeps it a secret from most of her peers besides her family, Luke and Benno. While talking to Lutz's mother, she learns she might be spied on. The spy seems diligent, even eavesdropping on Gunther and Otto talking about Myne and breaking into the Merchant Guild. Meanwhile, as mentioned in Myne's terms, she requires retainers to take care of her as she's quite ill. While talking to the High Priest, Ferdinand informs him of assigning his retainers to Myne. But Fatty still seems to be ripe in a fury from when Myne had busted him and spitefully decides to place one of his retainers instead of Ferdinand's. Soon Myne arrives, finally able to be an apprentice priestess, but she's disturbed upon receiving sharp gazes. Myne takes an oath as a blue-robed priestess and meets her three troublesome retainers: Gil, the ultimate troublemaker, Delia, an aspirant to be Ferdinand's concubine, and the cold Fran. Yikes, this is not going to be fun. Starting as an apprentice priestess, Myne is briefed on her duties in Ferdinand's office and shown how to give her mana away. Soon she's given access to the library and hops away happily, but unlucky her, she's now followed by the ear-eating three retainers. While reading, Gil constantly disturbs her by throwing a tantrum to eat. This makes her angry, spilling mana. The three seem to only have one of two motives: to report on her doings to the curious High Priest or annoy her. Tired of them, Myne arrives at Benno's and is immediately scolded for openly walking in her blue robe, indicating nobility and risking kidnapping. He's a proper angry father. But there's more to drop as Myne informs him of the donation she has to make to the temple as decided, making him and Mark skedaddle. The three arrive at the cathedral where the donation is made, all while Benno, with his fatherly love, interrupts Fran and Ferdinand to be gentler with Myne. Settling Myne's profit donation, Benno prepares to leave when Myne suddenly collapses. Immediately he picks her up and starts leaving, angered. Ashamed, Fran rushes, apologizing for not being a good retainer to his master and asking Benno to carry Myne. Mr. Benno is quite a possessive guardian though, as Myne assures Fran he allows him to carry her. It seems one of her retainers is warming up to her. Meanwhile, Delia gets the High Priest's favors for reporting to him, and poor Gil's banished from the orphanage and food as he has a master now. The frustrations of Gil soon drop on Myne as he already gets in a scuffle complaining about his unmet basic needs despite Myne being his master. It makes her realize her shortcoming and apologizes, promising to take responsibility. Later, Myne gets ready for work in Ferdinand's office, changing right there since she got an earful from Benno. But that flashes poor Ferdinand, this scandalous priest. To avoid further scandalization, he gives her an empty office, making Myne assign Gil his first task to clean it in exchange for his needs. When done with the task, Myne's pleased and pats Gil on the head, moving him to tears. Soon proving Fran and Gil to be with common clothes, Myne brings them about the city, exposing them to a different atmosphere than the cathedral. Even Gil's now warming up to her. Meeting Benno, she also makes him happy, informing him of the office and an oven in it, something Benno had lacked in training his chefs. Immediately, they start testing food, which comes out delicious. Just as they relish the pizza, Delia bursts in, yelling at Myne for having her thrown out of High Priest favors as Gil and Fran, now loyal to her, defend her. The priest was enraged upon hearing Myne had got into the office and threw Delia out for not reporting him in time. Seeing that all her tactics, including trying to flirt with Benno, are failing, Delia starts crying. However, Myne doesn't abandon her and gives her the task of dressing her in exchange for supporting her. One more comrade down. One day, Myne and the bunch have some leftover bread, which she allows Gil to take to the children at the orphanage. There, to her horror, she finds the orphanage door locked as if in prison, and inside, little children collapsed, starving and miserable in the darkness. The sight's too heavy for Myne to take, and she faints just as Gil locks the door again. Myne is deeply concerned for the children. Ever since the church dismissed the orphanage's priestess, the children have been abandoned completely. Despite Fran warning her to stay out of the matter, Myne talks to Ferdinand, who sends her back unsupportive. It makes her feel worse at her helplessness and having inadequate capital to save the children. After work, she meets Lutz, who questions her mood. Little Lutz has sharpened through his apprenticeship and comes up with a brilliant plan. They could hire the children for work, turning the orphanage into a branch of their paper-making studio. Myne will be the one to help them in the form of returns, and that's pretty marvelous. However, when Myne goes to talk to Ferdinand, she gets scolded on her still poor noble decorum instead. Surprisingly, just as she thinks all is lost, Ferdinand appoints her as the orphanage's director. Myne also comes to know that Ferdinand is an outsider priest just like her, and not rose by the church. Nevertheless, Myne can now save the kids and happily bursts into the orphanage, letting light in and announcing freedom. As Myne becomes the director, the orphanage speedily starts revolutionizing itself. Under Fran's direction, the children move to work, and Myne informs them of the work return rule, bringing them fresh food for their hard work. Even Thule and Gunther help, taking the kids outside to collect paper raw materials for a flashcard idea Myne has come up with. Of course, who else but Benno purchases the rights to it. To the kids, Myne soon becomes beloved, almost a messiah, transforming their fate. With the Star Festival coming up, Myne wishes for the orphans to have just as good a time as others and requests Ferdinand to allow it. He allows, as long as there's no nuisance. The day of the festival arrives and the children yap happily, throwing fruit at each other when Myne suddenly triggers a trombe to sprout. In time, Gil and Lutz chomp it off and the children resume their happy clamor. Despite covering it up, Myne is confronted when she meets Ferdinand again. Complaining about the mess the kids made at the trombe, he puts Myne in detention as Fran protests. Ferdinand disregards Fran's protest, but soon realizes he's concerned for Myne's health. The detention doesn't go well on Myne, who collapses all sickly and weak, making Ferdinand regret taking her health so lightly. About time someone's realizing, bumhead. While Myne is beginning to christen as an apprentice priestess, Luke encounters problems at home. His family's unsupportive stance of him being a merchant has caused fights, and Lutz runs away from home, deciding to live in Benno's attic. Myne's still recovering from her detention when Ralph, Lutz's brother, comes to ask where he might be. He finds him at Benno's and creates chaos. Over the days, even Lutz's mother comes to call him, yet he refuses. Once Myne's well, she visits Benno about the situation. It turns out Benno fully supports Lutz's dreams, declaring that he'll adopt him as a child for him to stay. Well, buddy, now trying to take baby Lutz as well. That's pretty adorable. The situation disturbs Myne greatly, causing her to relay the information to Ferdinand. Soon, all parties involved are called to the cathedral by him to sign Lutz's adoption. Yet, when his parents arrive, they seem gloomy and reveal they'd been supportive of Lutz's work. All they wished was for him to be safe, and that's why they'd avoid him going away as a merchant. Seeing their emotions, Benno decides to swap the idea and raise Lutz as his successor since he has no child. It helps the family stay from wrecking, moving everyone to tears. Relieved, Myne grows tearful and is offered a handkerchief by the head priest. On the embroidery of it, Myne finally learns his name. Staunch priest is warming up to her as well. No one can escape Myne's cuteness. Gladly, the situation with Lutz's family is settled, but there's news at Myne's. Effa, Myne's mother, is expecting. Delighted at the news, Myne immediately decides to make a picture book for her soon-to-come sibling, and reaches Ferdinand on the matter. Excitedly, she asks for Wilma from the orphanage to become her retainer, as she's good at art, but Ferdinand once again finds her aspirations careless. He insists that if she's to take an art retainer, she will take a music retainer too, which shall teach her noble music skills to prepare her for the future. With her abundance of mana, once Myne comes of age, she'll be hunted for by prestigious nobles hoping for a child that also holds abundant mana. You could say that they're mana diggers. Myne's also got to be careful about the High Priest, who's still spiteful and may make a move hearing of the baby. Soon, Myne starts her lessons on the horror spell with Ferdinand and quickly picks it up. However, it becomes clear to Myne that her musical retainer, Rosina, is considering herself above Gil, Fran, and Delia. All the while, Wilma refuses to leave the orphanage as Myne's art retainer. Instead of dismissing them though, Myne listens to all her retainers and gives Rosina an ultimatum of either working or returning to the orphanage. Rosina accepts to work. Soon, with her help, Myne passes her musical tests, but Wilma still won't come out. Rosina tells her that out of all the people in the orphanage, Wilma was taken advantage of by a blue-robed priest and therefore stays within the orphanage, traumatized by men. Now that nobly duties are off the to-do list, Myne can finally think of her picture book again. Myne decides to make a picture book version of the Book of the Holy Scriptures from the church. Hearing of this, Ferdinand allows the picture book to be started. However, Wilma still stays in. Still, Myne takes care of her fear and comes with Rosina to talk to her rather than Fran. Myne tells of her plans to Benno, saying she plans to use wooden blocks for block printing pictures in the picture book. However, she missed out on the cost calculation for ink that would be used, which is quite costly. Of course, her daddy Benno gives her a good scolding. Nevertheless, Myne's unstoppable and resorts to making her own ink with soot and oil. All the while, though, Wilma assists with her art. She also struggles with her fear greatly, and has even caused her to lash out at the kids. Myne also checks with Ferdinand on the content of the book. He's blown away by how clearly she's able to translate the complex prose to child-friendly prose, and questions her. She only relays that she saw it in dreams. Soon, even Wilma finds the guts to see the process in the studio. After 2 years of hard work and combining Myne's ideas and other support and handiwork, Myne's made her very first book, a picture book, and it moves her to tears. Creating a picture book may have been huge for the world Myne was born into, but to Myne, there are far greater things than just creating a book. For example, a library organization. Yep, Myne's a full-on geek, but an adorable one at that. While on her way to the library, Myne runs into a gray-robed priest under the High Priest. She avoids him to evade conflict, but once she reaches the library, her calm demeanor completely collapses at sight. The library lay tattered with books all over. It rages Myne greatly. However, before the little ball can blow up, Fran quickly grabs her, taking her to Ferdinand. With cheeks blown up in anger, Myne starts babbling about bringing a blood carnival for her destroyed library. Ferdinand takes her aside and informs her that this might be the doing of the High Priest's loyal men to keep her from the harvest. With the harvest festival upon them, blue-robed priests are offered harvest from farmers as an offering to God. It's possible they wanted to prevent her from receiving any. Seeing how it is, Myne decides to settle the library herself. Immediately, she brings her retainers and starts sorting the books with the Nippon Decimal Classification System. Meanwhile, Myne's bookmaking is in full bloom. She printed her first children's Bible. Though Benno asks for the rights immediately, Myne refrains. She shows it to Ferdinand, who realizes what a blow to society this can make, and suspects Myne will be in danger if things remain as she wills. Ferdinand also blows away Myne's plans to stay at home and create books during winter, as they need her mana for the upcoming dedication ceremony. The news of Myne staying at the cathedral instead of spending time at home highly distresses Myne, but it distresses the possessive, loving father, Gunther, even more. Over the table, he shows his dismay, yet Myne reminds her family that the reason she's alive and healthy is because of her acceptance at the church. Hence, she should take responsibility. Finally, her family understands. Poor Gunther's gonna miss his little girl. Aw. Before the ceremony, Myne plans to start on more picture books at the cathedral. However, the plan's blown away again. Fran comes in informing Myne that the church needs her to perform a ritual for the Knight's Order due to the shortage of priests. Unknown to them, it's gonna come way before than anticipated. Just as Ferdinand returns from the Harvest Festival, a magic bird visits him, delivering the message of an urgent Knight's Order ritual to be performed since they are to depart and tackle a strong erupting trombe. Myne is hurriedly dressed, and Fran carries her outwards towards the noble gates. There, she's surprised to see Ferdinand dressed in armor. He will fight alongside the knights. Entering the gates, it's a whole different world of nobles. Rows of knights stand as the commander steps, kneeling to Ferdinand. Myne baffles when Ferdinand summons magical flying creatures to depart. Just as they ignite in the clash, Myne kneels, performing her duty by praying over them and giving them blessings. However, as Ferdinand and the knights head to Trombe, a soldier, Shikikozoa, mocks Myne's prayers. The hate for Myne becoming a blue-robed priestess seems to have finally come for her neck. Shikikozoa, an entitled noble knight, berates little Myne, but a lower-ranked knight, Damuel, tries to encourage her. From below, Myne watches the knights clash with the Trombe as Damuel and she admires Ferdinand's skill in using magical arms. However, just as Damuel and Myne friendly chat, Shikikozoa butts in again, reprimanding Damuel for talking to a kami. Samuel is surprised at the knowledge, but still tries standing up for Myne. However, he's of a lower rank and sets aside once Shikikozoa acts authoritative. Rudely, Shikikozoa even punches Fran and grabs Myne by the hair, throwing her down and bringing out his knife to gouge her eyes out. What a jerk. Like, seriously, she's just a child. Dangerously, the scuffle causes a trombe to sprout out and start choking poor Myne, at which jerk-ass Shikikozoa runs away and Myne calls out for Lutz. Far in the city, Lutz has a vision of her. Luckily, Ferdinand comes in time, scolding the two knights and saving the poor girl. For their poor conduct, an open interrogation is conducted, where Shikikozoa is still acting entitled and reasons that a noble isn't to give justification on what he did to a commoner. Being the highest of the ranks, Ferdinand issues a verdict. He gives Shikikozoa a good scolding, putting him back in his place, and announcing punishment for all knights. Soon, Ferdinand carries Myne back to the skies, promising he will set her for success. As punishment, Ferdinand asks jerk-ass Shikikozoa to perform the knightly order prayer. Let's see how much that big mouth got him, huh? However, just as he starts, the mana in him drains, and he collapses. Sharply, Ferdinand yanks him away and hands Myne to complete the rest. As she starts, a massive gust of wind blows, replenishing the ground's mana, which the Trombe had sucked. It blows out the soldiers' minds as well as Ferdinand's. For reprimands, Myne asks for no more than being kind to the nice knight Damuel and a new robe set. Ferdinand feels bad for not being able to protect her. Soon, Ferdinand calls Myne to his room and makes her lie down. We're taken to the scene from the first season's episode where he places a circlet on Myne and enters her memories. Curious about her odd futuristic mind and crazy inventions, Ferdinand synchronizes with Myne's past life, where she gives him a tour of the life in Urano, books, and libraries. Seeing her old memories, Myne grows quite distressed, calling out her past mother and feeling bad for the tough relations. Ferdinand immediately pulls her out. Upon waking up, she gives Ferdinand an unexpected hug. Aw. Ferdinand has decided that Myne is of great value to Ernsfest if utilized properly and asks Cardest, the Knight Commander, to adopt her to guarantee her protection. Having dinner with her family, Myne thanks Effa as a way to thank her past mother and feels grateful for her small family. Soon, Myne's back to hearing Benno's scolding, doing her priestess duties, and making more books with the orphans. Happy Myne. Seriously, this has got to be one of the most wholesome animes I've seen in a very long time. It's just downright adorable. Watch it if you get a chance and just want some good vibes. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.